Hello friends, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Poonam Chawla, an assistant professor with Maharaja Agrasen Institute of Management Studies in Rohini. Today we are going to discuss the interesting subject of role of stakeholders in training. Let me provide you an introduction of the topic. In any training program, along with the participants and the training team, the training agency and the participating organizations are amongst the key stakeholders. In cases where the funding for the program has been provided by a donor agency, it too becomes a stakeholder depending on the nature of its involvement in the training. The following table provides an overview of key functions or responsibilities of these stakeholders. Participants. Participants contribute to all training objectives and activities, set out personal learning objectives and direct efforts to realize them, extend support to the training team in achieving and maintaining learning environment, assist co-participants in realizing their learning objectives. Organizations assist the training agency in identifying training needs of their nominees, select appropriate participants in accordance with the criteria and requirement set out by the training agency, communicate expectations from the program to their nominees and the training agencies, keep in regular contact with the training agency to secure information on the progress and performance of their nominees, especially if it is a long-term program, provide appropriate opportunities and support to their participants to facilitate the transfer of training to the field situation, maintain the performance or action of their nominees after the training program and provide necessary data to the training agency. Now let us look at the role of the training agency. The role of the training agency as a stakeholder is to provide an environment which is conducive to learning, including physical facilities, ensure effective coordination between the trainers and the support staff associated with the delivery of the program. Maintain contacts with the sponsoring agencies, especially in a long-term program, and keep them informed about the progress and performance of their nominees. Maintain consistency between what it advocates in the program and what it practices in its own functioning. Assist in the professional growth and development of the training staff. Maintain the training team. Keep pace with development in the field of training. Appraise work, that is efficacy and comprehensive, of training delivered on a regular basis. Trainers. Key elements in the delivery of training is the trainers. So, choice of good trainers is very necessary for a proper training program. Training department. The role of the training department is to identify training needs for individuals, departments and organizations. Its job is to sell training programs to the internal customers, that is the user departments. Third, the role of the training program is to coordinate with the training agencies and trainers to conduct training. Training department. Training department also provides infrastructure and organized training programs. It also evaluates the training programs and also designs follow-up questionnaires required. Another category of stakeholders is participants. Participants are major stakeholders as they invest a huge amount of time and effort in a training program to the praise of which whole training process is directed at them and training out to others in the training group. The degree to which a participant is willing to invest in the program by way of his contribution to the training activities is related to the benefits he expects to derive from the program. If the reasons for a participant nomination to the program are explicit and linked to his organizational training needs, he is willing to put in an extra effort to come up with the expectations of the organization. Continuing with the participants, if organization has not clearly stated its expectations, his approach to the program would be somewhat indifferent. Some participants demonstrate keen interest in the program and obtain maximum advantage for themselves. People who have strong desire to perform usually make the best of this opportunity to learn and grow. Organization. An organization is the first contact for a training agency after a training program is conceived or planned. If an organization sponsored a training program or has requested for a customized program, it obviously has a major stake in it. If the program has been developed by a training agency and the organizations are only expected to nominate the participants, the nature of their response and commitment to the program might vary. Some involved in the process of selection and closely follow the progress of the training program. It is important that as a trainer, you should be aware of the responsibilities of a firm that nominates participants for your program. Identification of training needs. An organization is expected to assist the training agency in identifying the training needs of the participants it nominates for the program. If an organization has direct interest in a program and perhaps it has greater stakes financially or otherwise, it is willing to put in an extra effort in assisting the training agency in this task. If the program is sponsored by a training agency, some participating organizations are somewhat indifferent to the process of identifying training needs of their nominees to the program. Selection of participants. Selecting participants in accordance with the criteria set out by the training agency is another key task for an organization. The interest of an organization in selecting appropriate participants for a training program depends on a number of factors. Some of these factors are indicated here. Most important factor that persuades an organization is to respond promptly to a request for sponsoring participants is the relevance of the training content to its work and functioning. Value an organization attaches to training as an instrument for staff development. The person who is responsible for handling such requests plays a significant role. An organization has a well-developed system of evaluation and appraisal of the performance of the staff. It is in a good position to identify gaps in performance and determine training needs of the staff. This facilitates the nomination of appropriate participants for a specific program. The status and credentials of the training agency are important considerations. If the program involves financial commitment on the part of the organization in the form of course fee, travel, so on and so forth, the selection should be more judicious in nature. Communicating its expectations from the program. It is immensely useful if an organization informs its nominee about the expectations from them during and on return from the program. The participants should be made aware that they are accountable to the organization in terms of their conduct in the program, their active participation in the training activities and the distinct possibility of being expected to productively apply these skills at the workplace. If the participants come to the program with comprehensive briefing from their superiors, they are active participants, useful partners in the training process. Monitor the progress of its participants. It should maintain regular communication with the agency in order to monitor the progress of its participants. Now, this task assumes crucial importance in a long-term program, as in such cases stakes are very high for all partners in the training. Most organizations, including those who have nominated participants with clearly defined objectives, do not make an effort to monitor the progress of their nominees. Transfer of training. In most cases, immediate superiors of their returning participants carry more responsibility for facilitating application of learning. They are willing to provide him opportunities for using the newly acquired knowledge and competencies to enhance his performance. They discuss with the participants ways and means to put learning into action. Experience of some participants in this regard has been frustrating and disappointing. On their return, they were told to put their learning styles aside and revert to the pre-training working methods and procedures. Again, we are discussing transfer of training only. For example, when a trainee returns back to his position, I hope you had a good time at the training. You should now get back to work quickly, as a pile of papers is waiting for action by you, asking the trainee to revert back to his older methods. They must have told you to do things in a different way, but we have our own time-tested procedures and methods of working. Do not bother about what they told you. We have to work as per the requirements of our organization. Again, forcing the trainee to forget what he has learnt in the training and moving back to the age-old ways. You see, practice and ground realities are different. What they told you in training is not relevant here. You must do what is possible within the functioning of the organization. Another example of showing the trainee that his training is a waste. Training agency. It is important for a training agency to remember that every program is a new challenge, yet another opportunity to reaffirm their position and expertise in the field. It cannot afford to sit back and relax once it has achieved a certain level of credibility. It should be in the constant pursuit of excellence because there could be competition. Therefore, the agency needs to be proactive in whatever it is doing. The most important responsibility of the training agency is to develop a viable and realistic program and ensure effective delivery. The important tasks which a training agency will carry out are listed in the following slides. The first, provide appropriate environment to participants. An important task for the agency is to provide a healthy and conducive environment to the participants for learning. An environment in which they feel comfortable and stimulated to participate actively in the learning process. The agency is also the provider of physical environment for the program. It must ensure that physical environment, living and training facilities, the overall surroundings, the settling up of the training venue is correct and appropriate. Coordination of professional and administrative inputs. A key feature of the delivery of the program is the integration of its professional and administrative procedure, for instance, travel reimbursements, return reservations, mechanisms for monitoring, catering and living arrangements. organization of leisure time activities, relationship between the trainers and the support staff, role of administrative staff in training activities, and the style of the functioning of the head. Maintaining communication with the sponsoring organizations. The agency needs to maintain constant liaison with the sponsoring organization, not only in the pre-training phase but during and after the program as well. It is also important that the agency elicits advance information on the organization's expectations from the program, which enables to make the program more relevant to their needs. During training, the agency must keep in contact with the organization, providing them program related information wherever necessary. In long-term program, the agency might send periodic reports to the sponsoring firm informing them of the performance of their nominee. Maintaining communication with the sponsoring organization. Ensuring transfer of training to field situations. Responsibility to ensure that the participants get appropriate support and opportunities for using the acquired competencies. Assessing as to what extent the new learning has contributed in enhancing the performance of the participants. Consistency in what is advocated and practiced. If efficient teamwork, motivation and commitment are among the values to be inculcated in the participants, it is necessary for the training agency to exemplify these through its work and administration. This demonstrates consistency in what is being conveyed to the training group and what is practiced by the agency and enhances the credibility of the agency, helping in developing a positive attitude towards the agency and the program. Assisting the professional growth of the training staff. The agency is responsible for providing the appropriate climate for effective functioning of the trainers. The agency should also provide appropriate opportunities for their professional growth and development. It should also facilitate outside professional contracts and arrange special programs for further development of its training staff. The trainers need to be encouraged and supported in trying out new ideas and approaches. Maintaining the training team. In some agencies, colleagues in a training team may continue to work as individuals following their own agenda and attempting to carve out an independent niche. Each act according to his personal concerns and not necessarily those of the team or the programmer as a whole. The agency has the responsibility of reconciling these seemingly inconsistent or even conflicting agendas and concerns. It should adopt an approach that makes sure harmonious functioning of the team in the wider interest of the program, keeping pace with developments in the field of training. In this world of rapid changes and intense competition in most professional fields, the agency must constantly strive to stay ahead by strengthening its position and status among the client's organization. The agency should keep abreast of developments in the field of training and ensure that they are incorporated in its modus operandi. The most important part is the regular appraisal of its work. A key function of a training agency is to engage in regular appraisal of its work, including the methods adopted for planning and implementation of the program. Professionally prepared and well-maintained documentation of its experiences in the form of case studies, progress reports, minutes of staff meetings, evaluative comments of participants, notes, etc., it can be of immense value to the training team. These documents and materials can serve as an important basis for on-the-job training of new professional staff. This documentation also enables the agency to share its experiences. Training team or trainers. A training team represents the commitment and interest of the training agency. It exemplifies the training agency's credibility and reputation. As a team and as individuals, trainers have a lot to gain or lose in a training program. Some trainers consider the program an opportunity to prove their competence and to excel. Functioning of the team depends on the degree of professionalism that has been fostered by the agency and management in the team as a whole. The outside resource persons or experts invited for the program add another element to the issue of responsibility, accountability and commitment of the program. They feel directly responsible and answerable for their session and not for the program as a whole. Some outside experts may play down the program in order to make their sessions stand out in comparison. The training team can find itself in a difficult situation if a resource person fails to come up to the expectation of the participants. Funding and donor agencies. Funding agencies include national or international agencies who are indirect stakeholders in training activity. They provide funds for conducting training programs on request to training agencies or developmental organizations. Generally, this type of funding is for training programs that strengthen and concretize community-based programs and services. Funding is given to target groups for training in special themes, areas that fall within the purview of the work of the donor agency on the basis of some agreed objectives and procedures of donor agencies and their policy of providing funds. Now I shall provide you with a summary of the module. We can see here that we studied about the various stakeholders like trainers, the companies who are stakeholders, the trainees, and what kind of role do they play and how should they behave for a successful training program. Thank you so much. I hope you understood the module well.